Good afternoon, everyone. Can everyone hear me okay? We're going to go ahead and get started in the back, you guys. Okay, great. My name is Dennis Gallagher, and I'm the president of Dominion Payroll. Dominion Payroll was founded in 2002 and is a leading provider of payroll and human capital management solutions, proudly servicing 5,000 clients across all 50 states. With 8 offices nationwide, we remain committed to delivering innovative, high-touch services to businesses of all sizes. I want to personally thank you for joining us today for today's Lunch and Learn here in beautiful Tampa, Florida. We're excited to present today's session, Mastering the Shift, AI Automation and the First Mover Advantage. It's a timely discussion which dives into the rapidly changing world, this digital landscape, and how forward-thinking organizations can stay ahead of the curve. Before we begin, I think this is a totally amazing timing of this presentation. Did anybody see on the front page of the Wall Street Journal yesterday or hear the Bloomberg News yesterday about what Meta was doing? I'll share it with you. I shared this with Cords over the weekend, and I'm sure he'll touch a little bit about this. But last week it came out that Meta and Zuck were offering $100 million signing bonuses to employees of OpenAI and matching salaries of $100 million for these people. Right? So just kind of let that sink in around the compensation and the talent grab that is occurring right now for these AI resources. And so I think it's great to be able to hear from Cords, and right. I would just do the signing bonus and say thank you very much on day 2. But I think that it's just an amazing thing to think about, just this landscape of change that is happening in real time. Before we begin, though, I'd like to take a moment and thank our friends from Zayzoon for sponsoring today's event. Their innovative work is making a meaningful impact for both employees and employers across the country. I'd like to invite Kelly Rafferty, who's joining us from Austin, Texas today, to join me on stage and share a few remarks about Zayzoon.
So, thank you.
I can't do it for you.
Oh, we're good on this one. Okay. Cool. Well, hi, everybody. Kelly Rafferty with Zayzoon. So I'll be super quick so we can get to the kind of meat and potatoes of today, which I'm excited to hear. But yeah, all Dominion customers are able to offer earned wage access through Zayzoon. So it's a completely free benefit that you can offer your employees, and what it is, since typically nobody knows what that is. Typically, it is a way for employees to access a portion of what they've earned in between pay periods. So think people paycheck to paycheck, get a flat tire, have a bill that they're not expecting. This way they don't have to turn to payday loans and pay 5,000% interest. They can just access funds that they've actually already earned, and a deduction will happen on the back end. So super, super helpful, very sticky, helps with retention, and more importantly, just helps people not get into really bad financial situations as far as debt and trying to climb out of that. We can go to that next slide. And then real briefly, I just wanted to touch on, like, our main thing is earned wage access, but we do also have a ton of other perks. We've got a full financial wellness platform where they can learn kind of how to get into a better financial state and maybe get out of the paycheck to paycheck life. So we really do try to help employees. It's definitely not a predatory situation. But yeah, so anybody interested in learning a little bit more, I'm always available. I have little wildflower packets, sunflower seeds, if anybody's kiddos want to plant things. But yeah, always happy to chit chat if you guys have any other questions. But that's my spiel. So thanks.
Thanks again, Kelly. Really excited to welcome back our speakers from Bakemore Highs, Cords and John. I'll just briefly say, and so that way we can get to this amazing presentation. I saw this when Cords and John did this for the CEO Council 2 years ago in their office. 2 years ago was probably when I first really, I saw, like, oh my gosh, there is some significant things happening here. And so last year when we were doing this Lunch and Learn, for those of you that are coming back this year that perhaps joined us, we had such great feedback after last year's presentation. Then when we were thinking about this year's presentation, what should we do? We're like, man, well, AI is changing about every week. You know, it's probably time to bring Cords and John back to today's event and share just, you know, what's happening. They're going to do that. If you haven't seen them before, I think you're in for a real treat. They're going to spend probably half hour, 45 minutes talking a little bit about AI and how it's changing, and then we'll leave some time for Q&A at the end. So jot your questions down, and we'll let them take it from here. Welcome, Cords and John.
Sure, I'll do that first. All right, we're gonna hold the mic. That way we can pass it back and forth. So we're super happy to be back here and speaking with everybody. I've got a lot of friends in the room, so we're excited to see all of you guys too. We were, in our opinion, one of the first movers on AI in the Tampa Bay market that we know of, and we're excited to share what we've done about it. We're going to demonstrate some products and things that we've created along the way, so we can give you a lot of information on all of that. And also, while we are going to give you updates about what's happening in the industry, the majority of the presentation today is about how you can leverage AI in your business beyond the basics of like how to prompt the tools and things like that. We're going to try to give you guys some really great information how you can start utilizing the power of what's out there and create some automation. So let's get started. Do you want to show your commercial video? Yeah, let's go.
In a world rewriting itself by the second, where change doesn't knock, it kicks down the door. One agency doesn't just keep up, it rewires the rules. Bake more pies, where strategy meets storytelling, where AI goes beyond the imagination. This isn't just evolution, it's disruption. The only question is, will you fall behind, or will you lead with it? We don't just understand AI. We wield it, shape it, bake it into every idea we serve. Beyond marketing, this is ignition, momentum, a revolution in real time. Because survival in this new world doesn't come from playing it safe. It comes from pushing the limits of human creativity and partnering with those who already know the terrain. Bake more pies. Let's craft the unimaginable and make it unforgettable.
So we have an amazing video team, and that video that you saw was almost, I would say it's 95% AI. So all of those scenes that were cut together and then created, and then they put them in the normal editing tools and were able to tell a story and create a marketing asset for us. And we're going to see a couple more along the way. But this just is a really good example. A lot of times when you're using these tools, it's not just go into one place and like putting it in, hitting enter, and you're going to get exactly the results you want. It's a combination of melding together a lot of tools and having the creativity and the vision to be able to create something from all the parts. This is just a little bio. Again, my name's Cords Owen, John Toner, and we joined forces a couple of years ago. I knew John. He's exactly the type of person, and we're going to get into this a little bit more detail at the end of the presentation, but in terms of what kind of human resources do you need to be a part of your organization to power this kind of change? And you need someone who is curious, self-motivated, a lifelong learner, someone that is a leader and is extremely creative. And so together, and John is all those things, and we have a lot of those people at Bake More Pies too. But anyhow, we've been working in technology for a long time, and I think it's really important, like why we took the steps we did. 2 years ago, we first saw this technology because our background was in digital. It was in databases. It was in understanding business systems and processes. And so when we saw it, it clicked for us instantly that like, hey, this is not something to be ignored. And so we're going to help tell a little bit more of that story today. Before we go,
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Dominion Payroll presentation on mastering the AI shift by learning how to utilize generative artificial intelligence in your business. If at any point you feel dizzy, please grab your seat and place your feet firmly on the ground.
again, all AI generated. The line, the reality of what you can create now, it really blurs the lines when you see it now. It's a lot of the things, like for example in that video, look totally real, or like they were done in like a Hollywood studio, and it's very difficult to tell. That voiceover was done by a tool called Murph.ai. Okay, so like, why do you want to listen to anything that we have to say? We're going to share a little bit about our credentials. St. Leo University, we wrote their entire certificate curriculum around AI. There's a course that you can take and get a little badge that helps you understand a lot of what we're talking about here today. If you want to get your hands dirty, we have a course. In the 2 years that we've been focused on this, we've done projects across all these verticals. We've got education, manufacturing, nonprofit, automotive, construction, tourism, retail, housing, environmental services, and marketing, and products. So we've really, I think our team now is we have 8 developers in our AI department, and we are really growing fast. In terms of, actually I was talking to my friends over here at this other table, Tony and Todd, and this is a very different presentation than we had last year. Last year, I think the first question I asked was, how many people have been using ChatGPT? And I think about 35% of the people, 40% of the people had raised their hands or were using another one of the AI tools. And nowadays, it's almost everyone, and 71% of enterprises are using it in one way or another. The easiest way to use it is in your content creation, whether writing blogs, articles for your websites, emails, things like that. That's the very easiest way to use it. And, very respected group here, McKinsey, is projecting $4.4 trillion upside for the economy. And only, not even 1% have achieved maturity. It's like, this is growing so fast, and the capabilities are moving so fast that, literally no one's got a mature solution at this point. All right. So a lot of what we're going to be talking about today, how many people have heard that 2025 was the year of agents? Anybody heard that? So we got one person heard that? Okay, great. No, that's good. That's good. We're in it every day, so we think everybody heard that. So let's go ahead and jump into how do you actually identify the things within your organization that are right for plugging in this kind of a technology. And so we like to use the acronym ACE, so access to data. What that means is that it's not only that you I have data, I have like a company drive or whatever, but it's when it comes to the data, is it organized? Are you using your CRM? Are you using your applicant tracking system? Are you using your project management system? Or very with a lot of discipline, right? Because it's not only whether or not you have access to the data, is can you use it? And so you can't use AI for any of these functions that you want to in your organization unless you have data and your data is in a good place. One of the first things we did 2 years ago is we looked at our entire enterprise, and if our accounting system, if our project management system, if our CRM, if even the creative tools that we use didn't have the ability to send data back to some place. Right now, we keep all of our data in a data lake in Google Cloud. But if it didn't, we got rid of it. And we only started using tools where we had full access to the data, and they were practical tools for us to want to use and interface with. Otherwise, you're just digging yourself a hole. So again, here's the information on how do you know whether or not you have good access to the data. So do you own the data? Is it somewhere that you can access it, whether that's locally, in the cloud, whatever. Can you get to it quickly? So if, like, for example, if your data is on a hard drive, that hard drive's got to spin to get to your data. That's why data lakes are important, because things like Snowflake or Google BigQuery or platforms like that allow you to get like a full fire hose of your data very, very quickly, and that's what these tools need in order to work. Now moving on to the C part of ACE, and that's cognitive load. So if there are tasks, how many people have tasks in their organization that are repetitive or just like, man, this is such, right? It's like practically everyone. Those are the tasks that you want to look to automate first. So it's the cognitive load, like how much thinking and expertise is required to make some of these decisions. Maybe it's a lot, but maybe you have the ability to define the processes and the decision trees around that reasoning, because if you can, then it could be, ripe for disruption. And anyhow, the last piece is economics. So, okay, yeah, let's say I automate this thing. Well, what kind of an impact is it going to have to my bottom line, right? And then what is it going to cost to maintain it? Because what's happening is these large language models, when you see LLM, that's what that means. It's a large language model is like a ChatGPT. It is like a Google Gemini, an Anthropic, Claude. That is what those tools are called. They are getting better and better all the time. So if you do create some of these automations for yourself, you need to build them in a way to where you can pull that out when the new one comes in and plop the new one in, and you'll have an even better tool than you had before you got started. It's really important to build it that way. We're going to show you how. Go ahead. All right. Yes.
On that straight statement that you'll have a better tool than you had before, is that making an assumption that they're keeping us on the same rails when they move us forward? Because sometimes for them, progress doesn't mean more capability. Sometimes it means better controls. So I'm assuming that you're building in some type of control or assessment to make sure that changing over and moving forward does achieve that specific goal.
Yeah, I mean, at least you could test it. Because if the large language model that you have in your tool is modular, you could try the new one in a sandbox and see if it gives you the kind of information you want. Or you could put the old one right back in with a few clicks of a mouse. The other thing, too, to remember is that, and ChatGPT is famous for this, but they had a model that came out not too long ago. What was the one?
This was a new version of 4.0 that was overly,
it was
basically overly complimentary, agreeable to literally everything you say. But yeah, that's a great idea to.
Yeah. You could literally ask it about a business plan or something, and it'd be like the worst idea ever, and it would tell you that you're really smart and creative.
That's what
sycophantic. It was very, and they didn't change the 3-point or 4-point whatever. They made the update, and the rails changed within the model. So here's a couple of great examples here of things that are like the type of tasks that you might want to look at to plug in for agentic opportunities. So, like, for example, things like knowledge bases, so frequently asked questions, things like chat bots, things like that within your organization. Invoice coding, something where you might have like a database and you need to identify or classify information relatively quickly. That's a task that a lot of times machine learning did in the past, like the original kind of AI, but now it can do it even simpler. You used to have to be like an AI engineer in order to train a system to do that kind of a thing. Now you really don't have to be. You just use the English language to tell the model, the types of things, show it some examples, and it can usually do a pretty good job. And then as you move down, especially people like Dominion, like they're masters of relationships and understanding the needs of their clients. Those types of B2B sales roles. Those are not going to be easily replaced by AI. Okay, here's a great example. This is a nice little chart for you. By the way, this image was generated by ChatGPT 4.0, but it shows you the types of things, the types of roles that are most insulated versus highest likelihood to be, replaced. Like, for example, like a paralegal. Think about what paralegals do, being able to review cases, get the attorneys up to speed, and things like that. Find that needle in a haystack. That's actually an AI term, needle in a haystack, and we're going to go through in a minute, like how much input can you put into these models to get something out? And a lot of these models that are available to all of us right now for a very, very low fee, like maybe even $20 a month, you can put in 1 million tokens into that, and that represents an unbelievable amount of data, and they can find one anomaly, one thing. You could have a case that's been going on for years and years, feed all of your case documentation into it, ask it to make some judgments on some things and get back information that you would not believe. All right, so John's going to take over and talk a little bit more about the technical building blocks.
Thank you, Cords, and appreciate the opportunity to nerd out over some AI stuff. That's what I live for. So talking about technical planning. So right now we're going to walk through how you plan to implement large language models within your organization. First step, choose the large language model that you want to implement, and we'll go through the various ways to evaluate those. You have to understand if it's a reasoning model or a standard large language model and what that means. Go through kind of the audio generation, image generation, and video generation available, as well as having large language models actually leverage tools and what that means. What are AI agents versus just the standard large language models that you are used to using. We'll give you some examples of what we do, and then also some examples of how we're leveraging it with hiring. All right, so I know this is a lot for one slide. I'm not going to go through every little detail here, but these are the current large language models that you should be considering for implementation. We have the usual suspects here. We have OpenAI with the top 3 models, then Google's Gemini, Anthropic's Claude. We have the open source Llama, and then the open source Chinese models. And when you're looking at these models, certain models actually have domain expertise now. So depending on if you're looking to do coding, looking for marketing, or looking for wherever you're going to be implementing a large language model, you might choose a different model for a different use case. Additionally, like I said, there's reasoning and non-reasoning models. So you can think of non-reasoning models. The large language model just spits out the first thing it thinks of. It doesn't think about it at all. Whatever you typed in, it just gives it an immediate response. The reasoning models that have come out more recently, they actually have internal dialogue where they talk to themselves and then respond to you. And there is actually a lot of latency in that, so it might take 20, 30 seconds for it to respond, but you'll get a much better, much more reliable response, less hallucinations, those sorts of things. And hallucinations is another AI term. It just means the AI is just making stuff up. It'll tell you facts that you sound really sure, but it's just making it up. So you got to make sure to watch out for that. Then we also have the tools available. So the different tools would be different actions the large language model can take. We'll get into that in a little bit, but that could be something as simple as going and looking up information on the web, or it could be something more complex, like actually interacting with your CRM database to update information. Then you'll also see here we have token limits and cost. Token limits are the amount of information that you can put into the model at one time. One token is about 75% of a word. I know it can be a little confusing, but and as Cords was mentioning, 1 million tokens, so that's 700,000 words. And what does that actually mean? So 1 million tokens would be essentially 50 annual reports. It could be a 1 hour of 1 hour of transcripts that are 9,000 words. 83 hours of continuous speech. So it's a lot of information you can send to an AI at once and have it analyze. And that's where you want to analyze the token limit here when picking out a large language model, depending if that's on your set of needs or not. So here we're going through just kind of our take on which models are best for which sources. So we have software development, business planning, and content generation. For software development, most developers I know love Claude Opus. That's kind of the good medium range there. For something really fast, O4 is great. And you'll see O3 Pro at the bottom here, and that's because for all of them. And if you're looking for the best model, you're willing to wait literally 10, 15 minutes for response, but you want the absolute best response possible, you're going to want to use O3 Pro. It only came out a couple weeks ago, but blew all the different tests out of the water, and it's absolutely the best model to use. Also, you notice on the open source benchmarks there, we have Minimax M1. They weren't even on the radar a month ago, but about a week and a half ago, they came out with the M1 model, and it blew DeepSeek out of the water. It blew all the Llama models out of the water. So what we do not want to do with the Chinese models, you don't want to actually go to them to run them. You want to find a United States provider that's running the Chinese models on their servers. especially for any kind of sensitive information that you might be on. All right, AI search and research. So last year's presentation, I told everyone just use Perplexity, and it still is an absolutely fantastic tool. I still highly recommend it. ChatGPT has caught up a lot since last year, especially if you're paying the $20 a month, which allows you to do the deep research, which I highly recommend everyone here try out with ChatGPT, and Perplexity has their own deep research as well. With that, you ask the AI question. It doesn't give you a response. It comes back to you, asks 5 or 6 clarifying questions, make sure it's really understand what you're looking for. Then it'll go out and search the internet for 15 minutes, 20 minutes sometimes, come back with a multi-page essay with your answer and fact-checked and sources, and really a fantastic tool for any kind of research.
It's the type of thing you would ask an intern to compile over an entire summer internship. It'll do in 30 minutes.
Yeah. So highly recommend you guys try that out. Multimedia, I'll hand it back over to Cords.
All right, great. So we got a lot of fun making these videos.
Name's Cords Owen. I'm the brains behind the biz. At Bake More Pies, we don't just make ads. We build full funnel campaigns that convert faster than I can outgrow this onesie. Like crayons meeting a freshly painted wall, our blend of creativity, data, and AI expertise makes a bold impression guaranteed to leave a mark. Sorry, power nap. Where were we? Sure, I still think Peekaboo is magic, but even I made it rain with smarter campaigns, faster pivots, and content that doesn't suck. Am I allowed to say that? Look, the world's moving fast. Attention spans are short, like me. So let's build something big together before I get distracted by my toes again. Bake more pies, because first steps lead to giant leaps.
Yeah, so we had a ton of fun with that. I saw that trend, I saw it on like a Thursday or something, and maybe it was like 1 day old, and I was like, this is totally going to be one of those things that everybody gets tired of in about 3 weeks. But for right now, we might be the person to do it first for a lot of people. So I talked to our video team, and I said, hey guys, here's your challenge. Give me one of these videos. And in like a day and a half, I had one. And what was great is, again, they're not just using the tool, they're using their human expertise of how to tell a story. They're changing the scenes. They're writing a script. They're taking those assets, bringing it back into Premiere. They're editing an actual video. And now we have like an amazing social media asset instead of something that just looks like a retread of some trend that's happening. Yes.
So that was your voice. Did AI generate that voice for you?
So
or did you read the script?
I actually read the script on that one. So the only thing that was me in that video was my voice. And so again, working with professionals, we went into the studio. We read lines about 4 or 5 times each one, and I was coached, like do it this way, do it that way. That was terrible. All the things, because I'm not a professional voiceover person. But because I'm working with, I'm not trying to replace the professional, I'm trying to augment them with these tools, because ultimately that's what's going to happen is you want to have the best possible team that's augmented with these tools, not replaced. And we'll go in again to like the type of person you want in your organization.
I love how you have to ask these days, though. Is it real or is it AI? And it's getting harder and harder to tell.
It could have been. Yeah, it could have been, but that was actually my voice. At least they told me it was. All right, so these videos that we're creating, like the one we showed first, that on the video side, that's Google VO3. So as a leader, when I was going to my team a year ago and I was saying, hey, Will Smith is eating spaghetti better now, how do we use it? They were coming back to me and saying, it's not ready, it's not ready, it's not ready. But now, as of 4 months ago, it's good enough. And if you watch closely in that original video, there was only a couple little artifacts of things that didn't quite make sense. But if you look closely, also, it's like you'll see people have 5 fingers. They don't have weird 3 ears or something weird. Like it looks like real video. The lighting is good. Our people are giving very good art direction, because really that's how you have to think about it. When you're using these tools to create images or audio or video, you're really an art director at that point. You need to be very specific about all the things that you want, down to the lighting, the camera angle, maybe even the lens you want used. All the models understand those things. Hang here for just 1 second.
Absolutely.
So Murph.ai is a really good one. A lot of people here do things in their marketing where they need somebody to do like a voiceover. Murph.ai is cool because you can actually give it text. It'll do the read, pick different voices, different emotional like intonation and things like that. And then you can also like fine tune it. Like I want more emotion. I want you to slow down, right? Those are all the things that make human like voice human. And so that's how you end up with a very human sounding example. Like here, for example, let's click on the test one if you want to see. So the sound that we played earlier of the sit in your seat, yeah, this one right here, that was created right here. And so I could highlight some of this, and I can go into the knobs and the handles, and I can slow it down, speed it up, increase the volume, and it'll sound really, really good. So you can just hit play right there and see what the sample sounds like.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Dominion Payroll presentation on mastering the AI shift by learning how to utilize generative artificial.
Yeah. And then the way you change it is you go in, you highlight something, you can change the speed or whatever. We're not going to do that right now, but I'm just giving you an idea. This tool is $20 a month. I mean, think about what you've ever paid for a voiceover person. I'm actually a partner in a voiceover training academy. It's like, you know, like 4 years ago, we started. I was like, man, this is really cool. We're going to learn how to do online training. And now, like, you know, we're talking about, like, I'm literally replacing voice acting with an AI tool. And so you have to be really open-minded because everything is moving fast. 11 Labs is very good. We're going to show you 2 examples of products we've created with real-time voice here in a minute when we get into the agentic section. And then, again, we're talking about image generation. My favorite was Midjourney a year ago. I deleted Midjourney 6 months ago because the quality that comes out, even though it's way slower, the quality that's coming out of 4.0 from the ChatGPT OpenAI people is so superior that it's less time. I'd rather only ask it a couple times to give me something I want, or even follow like brand standards. It can do that. It can spell things correctly, and that saves me a lot of time. So those are my favorites.
Deal.
Just to give you an idea, that VO3 is like $200 a month. Murph is $20 a month. What were some of the other ones there? You've used 11 Labs a lot. You pay by the token, right?
Yeah, most of them, everyone's like $20 a month pretty much, except, everything is like pretty much just $20 a month for most stuff. OpenAI and Google have their kind of pro plans where if you pay them, you'll get the latest and greatest, usually video generation or the browser-based agents, things that require a lot of computation to run. They'll charge around $200 a month for, but you're absolutely get the bleeding edge, stuff that was unimaginable 6 months ago is now $200 a month. So anything for business, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, like I see Tony in the crowd. Like imagine you took a photograph of like that giant plunger in Australia, and then you asked it to transplant it to Florida. It could probably do that and show you realistic, like not just a rendering of what it's going to look like in Pasco County, but it's going to look like it's actually going to be a video. Like it could actually work.
There you go. Automations.
All right, so now we're going to talk about automation, and this is where we get back. Do you want to take this one?
Sure, I can do
it.
All right, so I'm sure everyone here, raise your hand if you use ChatGPT. I'm just curious since we did last year. Okay, yep, pretty much everyone, yeah. And so you guys know how the drill, you put a text in, you get text back out, usually your email to make you sound a little more professional, a little smarter, a little more savvy. But AI agents take that really to the next level. And so they take the large language model that you guys are probably using for, mostly ChatGPT, but there's also good ones out there like Gemini, Claude, and DeepSeek. And they add memory to them. So you can have a conversation with it, and then it'll remember your conversation you had a week ago and be able to reference that, and you'll be able to continue those conversations over time, especially if you're talking about a particular project over time that can be extremely relevant, extremely helpful. And then also has tools, which we're going to get into a little bit, which is everything from web search, very custom knowledge bases, so having all of your business's knowledge base available to the AI to respond to, leverage when it's giving you responses, and then it can take actions after that. So maybe you want to add things to your calendar, Maybe you want to inject some information to your CRM. Maybe you want to generate images on the fly. Those are all tools that could be available for the large language model. And then most importantly for agents is triggers and loops. So right now you work with ChatGPT, you input a prompt, and then it gives you a response. With agents, you wouldn't necessarily do that. Instead, the agent would see an email come in from a certain person, and then it would trigger it. It would see a new entry into your CRM, and then respond back to that person automatically.
Trouble ticket.
Yeah, so help desk tickets.
Yeah, so we have two products right now in place with manufacturer distributors. And look, this is a very relevant, so I'll describe it very quickly, and John's got some examples in a second of showing you what some of these configurations look like, and a couple tools where you could go to make your own. But basically, imagine this. You're a manufacturer distributor. Maybe you're doing something technical. You've got user manuals for everything that you sell, right? So that's your data. It's PDFs. So you put those in memory. Then what happens is we build a tool to where when a support ticket comes in, we want people to get the human touch. So what happens is the support ticket comes in, we look at who sent it, we then have the agent go look at the CRM. What have they bought in the past? Oh, they bought this tool. So when they just ask a generic question about why something won't print or why the gantry isn't working correctly, we know which machine they're talking about because we looked at their customer record. Then what happens is our AI goes in, because we have access to the user manual, and also the knowledge base of every other ticket ever answered, we then can go ahead and answer that question with great confidence. We can then pass that along to the queue of the actual technical or customer service support person, have the answer already filled out. They can just scan it, read it. Yeah, that's 95% right. I'll add a little flavor to the email and make it sound like it came from a human. And then they hit forward. And now all of a sudden, I'm resolving tickets 5 times faster and more accurately than I did before. And that's a perfect example of like how you can use an agent. We have 2 of those in place right now.
Hey, Courts. Yeah, and so that's just kind of one example of an agent, but obviously there's tons of different examples. And so there's some general frameworks that you can go out there and work with current agents that are out there. Both OpenAI has their operator platform and Google has their Mariner. These are browser agents where you can go in, give it a high level task. It'll go open the browser and actually do that task. Sometimes they'll spend a half an hour to an hour clicking, doing, I had to create some forms for me the other day. And yeah, it just works like an employee would, and it will come back to you if you need to enter a password securely. It'll come back and ask you to enter the passwords, and then we'll go back to completing the task.
Yeah, like for a perfect example, one of my friends is a recruiter, right? And so their applicant tracking system might be Bullhorn. Well, you could open up this thing and say, I want to do these tasks within Bullhorn. It might take you a couple hours normally. But instead, you could maybe ask the AI tool to do those exact things, since it's a very popular thing and a lot of documentation out there exists out there about how to use that particular tool. It could literally take over the mouse and do some of that work just for you like a robot. And so think about other tools that you access in the cloud as websites. You could actually ask some of these AI tools to try to pick up some of those tedious tasks for you, just simply using Operator or Mariner.
And for at least our day-to-day operations, we do a lot of custom coding work, and so there's actually AI tools that do the development for the AI applications that we leverage. So just trying to maximize our efficiency. Some of those are Replit, Firebase Studio, and Cursor as examples. I don't see too many other developers out there, so I won't get into those in too much detail. And then there's also the ability to build your own agents very quickly, very easily. So the basic agent, where it just has a large language model with a knowledge base that it can operate off of, you can create those very easily in ChatGPT today. They call them GPTs. You'll see them on the left-hand side when you're in the standard ChatGPT window. And those you can upload with custom knowledge bases, and then you can reference those knowledge bases really quickly. And Google has their GEM platform, which is very similar to that, to build more complex agents yourself without having to hire developers to do it. There's Zapier, Make.com, and N8N. Are all automation systems that allow you to now create AI agents very simply that can not only have the custom knowledge bases, but also have custom triggers and use custom tools. So those are fun things to play with. And
show them one of your screens.
Oh, sure.
We're going to pull up a Make screen here. We use Make a lot. And so John's going to show you what one of these screens would look like. So in this case, you go to make.com. You start connecting the tools that you have. So like, for example, if you're using Salesforce or HubSpot, you can go into the settings and you can request to get an API key, just fill out the little configuration tab. And if you don't know what to do, just like again, Perplexity, ChatGPT, ask it, how would I build an automation using this tool? And it'll give you a step-by-step guide. And so once you do that, you can start building your little workflows. And in this one, it's a very simple one. It's a linear thing. But you can see this agent is triggered by a webhook and then goes through and performs all those tasks, interacting with the database and whatnot.
Good deal. Thank you, Quartz. And then I have another quick agent demo after this, actually, where we show off. Come on. There you go. This one is Page Chat. So this is a product that we developed that is a voice-to-voice AI agent that's on, it can be on any website. For this one, it's on dogsinc.org. And of course, you want to hold the mic while I
Sure.
a couple clicks here.
Yeah, so Dogs Inc., if you're not familiar with them, they're a very large nonprofit that used to be called Southeastern Guide Dogs. They do amazing work with breeding and training.
All the websites speak for itself.
Good job. Yeah, that's a great idea.
Thanks for your interest in Dogs Inc. How can I help you?
Can you explain to me what Dogs Inc. does?
Dogs Inc. is a nonprofit organization that provides guide dogs, service dogs, and skilled companion dogs free of charge to individuals across the U.S. They focus on helping people with visual impairments, veterans with PTSD and other disabilities, and individuals needing in-home support. Their mission is to create thousands.
Wow, this sounds really neat. Can I actually donate to Dogs Inc.?
If you're interested in supporting Dogs Inc. financially, you can make a donation to help them continue their important work. Would you like me to direct you to the donation page?
Yes, please direct me to the donation page.
Redirecting you to the Ways to Give page now. Thanks for your special interest in donating to Dogs Inc. How can I help you?
did wrong, you take that feedback and you hit one button and you launch it again, and you get to take that same interview again, and it'll show you like your progression. And so you can see like a whole cohort analysis of how the entire population got better. The large language model isn't set up for that. It's set up for one-to-one type relationships, and right now it doesn't even remember very well previous conversations you've had with it. You kind of have to start from scratch each time. And so anyhow, that's just a little bit of an example. Can they hear us again? Back in. Okay,
we're
great.
all good.
Awesome. So in this particular case, we have interviews all queued up. John's going to show you the quality of an interview that this tool can do. And we can go into more detail, but like we've been taking extra special care to remove bias from our interviewing tool. If you're doing just straight up like, hey, here's a candidate, tell us if they're any good, what'll happen is it'll compare everything to the universe. It'll look at their name and go, wow, this person has a name that sounds like a lot of other CEOs or a lot of other salespeople. They're probably a good salesperson, right? So if somebody has an unusual name like Cords, like they may not rank as high, right? And there's a lot of bias in those. What we're doing with this tool is we're providing a full audit trail. We're breaking down the resume and the job description into the discrete requirements and evaluating on a deeper level, not just a keyword level, whether or not somebody meets the criteria. And so John's about to demonstrate this voice application as well.
Thank you.
So in this case, you're interviewing for a developer role?
Yeah, entry developer role at Bake More Pies.
Hello, are you ready to start your interview?
I sure am.
Hello, thank you for taking the time to chat with me today. I'm excited to learn more about your background and how it might align with the role we're discussing. To start, could you tell me a bit about what attracted you to this position and how it fits into your career goals?
Sure thing. So I think artificial intelligence is set to change the world, the business world and world at large, and I just want to be part of that, and I think this will really help my career.
That's a great perspective. AI indeed has transformative potential across various sectors. Looking at your resume, you've had some impressive experiences in AI and machine learning. Could you share more about your role in developing the RAG system and how you approached improving model efficiency and accuracy?
Sure thing. So when we built the RAG system, the Retrieval Augmented Generation system, we used a Pinecone database and fine-tuned the model for its specific use case we were aiming for, and we increased the efficiency by 34%.
It sounds like you had a hands-on role with cutting-edge technologies. Using Pinecone for the database and fine-tuning the model must have been quite a challenge. How did you approach the fine-tuning process? And
What button it was. There we go. They should be good now. But yeah, it asks industry questions to actually figure out, do they actually know these specific things? In the areas where it says it does not match, it asks, it says you don't have any SQL experience. Do you have any SQL experience? And the person might think, oh yeah, actually, I worked on that last year, just wasn't on my resume. And so you actually get the nitty-gritty details on how qualified this person is, fully automated. So before you even have to talk to this person, touch their resume, they've already not only had the resume reviewed, but had that first round interview where you make sure you understand their qualifications. So I'm particularly proud of this solution we built out. But yeah, that's my nutshell on it.
Thanks, John. Yes, ma'am.
I have a question on this very technology. A colleague of mine last night went through this as the job seeker. She was like, ah! So with this, for anybody looking for work and in that lane, she said she had things all over her computer to be ready for whatever is coming her way. How do you guide people with AI, knowing what's coming but not knowing what's coming?
Well, I mean, I wouldn't.
Could you repeat the question?
Yeah, so it sounds to me like what your friend was doing a remote interview, and they had lots of monitor space, and so they had like all their like cheat sheet up, in the nicest way, right? To make sure that they were fully prepared to answer any question, right? So, and I think, talking to my friends who are in the staffing world, you're getting custom written resumes too for every single job. So it's like it's getting harder and harder to filter through people who actually know what it is or are truly qualified for what you're doing. And so I would say to help people prepare for the actual interview, that's why we built the training side of interviews, but we also have the business side where a business can use this as a screening tool. So whether you get our link to collect the resumes or the applicants, or whether you use an applicant tracking system and you bulk upload all the resumes into our platform, either way works fine. But like that's the whole reason why our software exists, is because we think an actual interview is a powerful tool to screen through, because people are getting, I mean, this internship that we're talking about, we got 200 resumes for an internship. That's a lot of resumes for an internship.
Courts, how many of those 200 went through the interviews? Like, did you do an applicant tracking to kick out some that should,
Yep.
and then what was like the pull through?
Yeah, so let me get kind of a full scope real fast. Yeah, so what it does, it goes through all the resumes, does that same process where it breaks down the job requirement or job description into job requirements, and compares each resume, and then you get to set your score. So you say if they meet 80% of the requirements, then they automatically get an email and a text saying, come, click on here to do your voice-to-voice interview, and then they can do the interview whenever they're ready. And so out of the 200, it was like 250. I think about 20 of them got through and did the voice-to-voice interview, and then 4 of them actually passed the interview, and we did our actual interview process with those.
Did you find out those 4 you found the right?
Oh, they were great. I mean, yeah, we've got some really great talent. It's been amazing.
Awesome. Okay.
Yeah. Cool. Yes, sir.
So if you have an AI agent interview you as a job seeker, could you create your own agent to respond back to the AI agent?
Potentially.
If someone did that, I would hire them in a heartbeat.
Yeah, exactly. for our AI internship role. Yeah, so the question is, could you create your own agent to do the interview for you? If you could do that, yes, you're very qualified. I would encourage anyone in here that has somebody that could do that to hire that person. Maybe we should build that tool next.
Right, yeah.
Own both sides of the red team and the green team. That's funny. All right. So we're moving along here. So these are the types of roles and positions that are going to be filling these jobs. These are the types of people we're looking for at Bake More Pies. Sometimes you find a unicorn, somebody that has a lot of these things. We encourage, this is a big deal here. The person you're looking for, that first sentence, you're looking for self-motivated. Somebody has to want it. If they're the type of person that's sitting around waiting on you to define their processes for them, they're not gonna be riding this wave with you. Just totally transparently. Like if you have to train them, if you have to go to them and they're waiting for you to provide, unless you have an HR department that's their role, they're not going to do well in this next wave of business that we're all going to be experiencing. You need to have people that are willing to look into their own career, look at what's happening in their own industry, keep up with it on their own, learn things on their own. They're not, waiting till 8:30 when they get in the office or 9 o'clock to then on the clock train themselves. These are people who are motivated to learn these things on their own. They're watching YouTube videos, they're interacting with tools, they're researching their own stuff. Those are the types of leaders who are going to fill these roles. And so these job titles here, they can be a little, technical here, but basically what you're looking for is similar stack of people. You've got database people, you've got project managers, you've got front-end developers, you've got architects here, people that understand the business and the technical side. I would encourage you to use whatever tools you have, whether they're assessments or whatever. See if you can find those people within your organization first before looking to go outside. This is a very new industry here. Like this is an emerging field. There's very few people, these people that exist right now that have a lot of experience with this. You're going to be wanting to work with software engineers that don't come in and tell you the first thing they say is, well, I only do it this way, right? That person is not going to evolve. People have to be very open-minded to evolve quickly because their world is going to be evolving quickly. Okay, and then I think this is the final slide here. We're wrapping it up. But these, just to review, start with ACE. Start with looking at your entire enterprise and evaluating whether or not you have opportunities to incorporate some of this automation or some of these tools. All right. Then we recommend do a 90-day exercise. That's not a huge commitment. And then measure it, report back to leadership, see how it went. I was talking to a friend of mine who has a very old business. Actually, they get a lot of data with handwritten forms, and they are light years ahead of because it's like what do you call it? Affordable housing type industry, right? And so, but the thing is this guy started trying to use AI a year ago. He is light years ahead of everybody else in his industry because he learned, like he hit the roadblocks because of the way his data was structured. He has hands-on experience. A lot of these tools will promise you they can do all these things. When you start using them, you're going to find out if they're telling the truth because a lot of them stretch the truth on what they're able to do. Like Copilot's my favorite for doing those things. You know, like it can do all these amazing things. Microsoft, like just look at their ads, right? Until you actually try to use it. Like yesterday, just for the heck of it, I tried to schedule a meeting with it again. Like I had somebody in the emails, like I have all these dates available. When's good for you? And I'm thinking, this is a pretty simple thing. Just look at the email, look at my calendar, come back with a couple options for me. It totally missed, you know? And so you have to use these, you have to get your hands dirty or else, you're just going to be playing catch up later.
I have a question. Can you speak to any of the data privacy concerns with using ChatGPT or any of these more publicly available?
Sure. So the question's about data privacy using these large language models.
Yeah, so obviously that's a big concern, especially larger corporations. And there's a couple different options. Copilot, unfortunately, is one of the bigger ones that everyone pushes for in large businesses, and it's also one of the worst ones to use. So you do have that as an option.
They do have insurance, by the way. They're the only one that has, like at least as of a few months ago, that actually have an insurance policy that covers you if you're using it properly and have an issue. They actually have indemnification built into their model.
You can also host models, so you can take if you do have a little bit of resources put towards it, you can actually host it internally within your walls or in a private cloud. You can use one of the large language models like Llama, DeepSeek, or M1.
They all say if you're paying for it, you just look at the terms and conditions. But if you're paying for it, that they're not using your data for training data. And I know we are at time, but we're going to stick around in case people want to keep asking questions.
We have a question from a virtual viewer, if you don't mind reading
Sure.
it. What is the environmental impact of all of the AI? There's been a massive energy usage. So what does the future of that look like?
Sure. So that is obviously a concern. We all got to live on this earth. So let's, I'll repeat the question here. Thank you. So what's the environmental impact of AI? And obviously all these data centers require a lot of energy to run. Currently, my understanding is that data centers in the United States use about 1% to 2% of the power grid. So if it doubles, we're still only looking at 3 to 4%. Doubles again, 8%. And obviously, when AI scales, maybe that could start to be an issue. Right now, it's not. And there's a lot of clean energy advancements that are right in the pipeline. Thorium reactors, scaling solar would be easy enough to do. So there's lots of things we could do. We have an energy sector expert over here as well that can speak to all that. But yeah, that's the long and short of it is right now it doesn't take up too much energy, and we got plans for the future that should be able to account for this.
Do we have time for a couple more questions? Are we good? Okay, so yes, sir.
I'd like to follow up to that question because it only considers one side of the equation, and that's the power that's being used. But when you've got economy of scale and a massive compute lake, all right, and then you only have people using a little bit here and a little bit there, you're getting a much better usage of that energy that's used there than people sitting at their computers for 3 days trying to figure out what's going on.
Absolutely.
I would argue that it balances or maybe even a pro in that direction.
Yeah, totally. So your point was that the amount of energy used to manually try to figure out a problem could just dwarf the amount of energy that it would take for a big giant data center to process something. It's a good point. And also, like, one of the things about energy creation is you can't bank that energy. It's evaporating. So if you're taking excess energy being generated by a power center and piping it to a data center, you can use it for compute, whether you're like mining some kind of cryptocurrency or you're doing some AI work or training a model. It's a great way to utilize like excess power generation. Yes, sir, Denny.
Can you go back to the data privacy question? I want to give like two specific examples. I wasn't sure if I heard completely kind of the risk around this. So if I want to review legal content about a company or anything personally, I still am not sure if that is safe to do. And then secondarily, we'll get transactions, we'll get bills, invoices from people that will have pages and pages of line of, like a phone bill.
Yeah.
Is it safe to, if I wanted to understand that better, then is it safe to put that stuff out there?
They all tell you if you are paying for their model,
the $20 a month,
the ones that we showed you, right, the leaders, if you're paying for their model, they're not using your data to train the model. They'll all tell you that. So you have a choice. You can not use it and not get experience doing it, or you could maybe take your data and obfuscate it or change names to IDs or something like that as an example. That might be one way to still get your hands dirty. Or you can just do trust them on some level. You're paying for the pro thing. Like my recommendation would be, unless you're dealing with social security numbers or something like that, like go ahead. I mean, get some experience using this technology, or else, you're going to be behind because somebody else is. I guarantee your competitor is. Yes, sir.
Similar area, continuing on that. There's got to be some sort of corporate agreement for, like, what about HIPAA compliance, for example?
Sure.
Or like in the financial, FINRA, SEC type, preventing personally identifiable information from leaking. I feel like kind of your point, $20 a month doesn't seem like a high hurdle, but if you have a corporate, are they creating like their own kind of firewall cloud, or are they bringing compute locally? Like, how are they able to that information?
Yeah, so speaking for HIPAA compliance and how are they basically firewalling that information for those highly regulated industries, and that's something that AWS and particularly Microsoft Azure have started specializing in. So you can get your own private cloud firewalled off, running any model, one of OpenAI's models, one of the open source models. They'll be happy to spin one of those up for you that you can then query directly. To your question about just using personal, like lower end, but still keeping it private. If you're running lots of latest MacBooks, and even if you have anything I have a gaming computer here because it has a good GPU, and GPUs are what the large language models actually run on. And so building a model takes data centers and months, if not years of time to build. Once the model is built, you can distill it down to run on actually smaller low-end hardware. So if you have a decent MacBook, you can actually use a software called LM Studio. You can download one of the open source models and just run it 100% locally. The AI doesn't even leave your laptop, and you can run any kind of queries you want to on it. And the way the models are advancing so quickly, the ones that run on laptops were cutting edge. It was 4.0's quality, a couple months ago. So that's another option if you don't want to scale up an entire data center to run a model.
Thank you.
Yes,
I was
sir.
just going to say, Court, the other thing I've been encouraging my clients to do is to write an AI policy. Just like you have an HR policy, develop an AI policy for your employees in terms of what they can and can't do leveraging AI within your organization.
Yeah, no, that's a good one. It's kind of funny because maybe you could write the policy with AI.
Yeah.
I served on a subcommittee at the chamber where we were recognizing that this was going to be a big deal and impact a lot of business. So we started a subcommittee, and I was leading the education segment, working with the universities. And the discussion was all about, like, students are going to be using AI. Students are going to be using AI. And then Like just last month, I sent an email because some teacher got caught grading all the papers with AI. it's like, but at the same time, I mean, these are the tools that are available to us, and you're going to be doing your job with these tools. You know, it's a fast-moving world we're living in right now. Yes, sir.
That HIPAA compliant, you know, I literally tricked somebody to come speak about AI last year. They wanted something about benefit communication, and I said, can you come talk to this? And before he got there, somebody said, well, we really need you to learn about AI. It was like a year ago, and he has a whole model. You know what Employee Navigator is, right? Sure. I mean, it takes like, our team takes like 5 days, and they want 60 days notice, and he's building those with AI, HIPAA compliant, 3 minutes. Like, I literally thought he'd sped up the video he sent to me. It's less than a year from, he was just asked to kind of speak on it last year, not an expert, to it's a huge piece of a portco right now that could be $100 million deal.
One more question.
One more question.
And I actually do want to add a few pieces. So by default, when you pay $20 a month for OpenAI, they still send your data. You actually have to go in and pay $20 and then turn off sending the data. So anybody that's doing that, make sure that after you pay the $20 a month, you then go into the settings and turn off sharing your data. So just a little point of clarification.
Wow. I think this, hopefully this was valuable to everybody here and certainly online. Let's just take a second and thank Cords and John for coming back yet again and just sharing so much valuable information. I don't have $100 million, but I've got $100. If either one of you want to join the Dominion team, we would love to just implement like one of these ideas. But I would encourage you guys to stay in touch with John and Cords. There's obvious significant value there. And thanks again for coming out today, and keep in touch. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you.